That's some now.
That's kind of our opinion.
Right.
That's how she has grandchildren. They can do that.
They can take, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hall,
I make them go mop up every time.
Mayor Mutz, Commissioner McConnell. Just wanted to let you know, Tim Darby brought in the meeting from a legal perspective.
Okay.
Because our attorney, Michael Craig, were not able to talk regarding some of the items on the agenda. You're currently in our training talking.
Good. I noticed they were.
I just wanted to let you know that there's no sunshine law violation.
Oh, yeah.
I won't have any update on what they've talked about.
And other than we pray for sunshine on it. You know?
So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yes.
With Tim.
You got 1 minute, right?
We don't need to on this part.
But that's what our fee is.
Unorthodox.
Check it back.
Ben's in there.
Ben and Mike.
Because Tim should be here.
He walked in where I walked in, so I think he might
That's
be
good.
here.
Thanks, Doc. Okay, well,
I also apologize in advance. I have to leave at 9:40.
and Mr. Mayor, we structured the agenda to meet your time constraints.
Thank you very much.
You don't drink coffee, Tom?
That's right here. This amount of fluid is not going to work.
Excitement is in the air, excitement in the air, excitement in the air.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes, I got a copy as well.
okay, so we
are responding.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Whoever set our screens up today.
I'm tabbing. Yes, sir.
Just how do I get to it?
The thing on the side, the tool on the side.
It's down the side anymore.
Yep, I'm finding.
That lets me open all of these.
Yeah, it's not open there. It's not there
Unless
yet.
what we do is actually just go through them as they come.
Yeah, they have to.
I think that's,
Well,
Usually you hit it, it's nothing on the side of the head.
So it's
Thank you.
with that, if I would like to help,
Where?
and then
Try to take pride in my comments. So when people say like,
that was
this grows and
I'm talking,
like,
we're talking about.
and then the other side.
Oh, right here?
There it is, there.
Yeah, it's right
Now, there we go.
one more.
So why don't you go grab him?
If you want side tab.
Aaron,
I want to
tell him the
try to-
situation. and He needs to come
That
here
is
to meet legal for us while.
I want to see,
Yeah,
Yeah, so you click it.
right here.
It's just the tool of.
There you go.
What, can you show me his got?
Yeah, me too.
Oh, it's
That
there.
little
So-
sidebar right here.
You got that?
Oh, got it. Bring it
Click
in.
on this little ship, that right there.
Then off of
All right.
work with you. So,
Now we know.
enough.
And then what was the second one?
Over here, we ready? You ready?
I'm not an expert. I'm tired of it.
It's 8:30, is everybody here? Everybody in place?
We have to wait on it.
Ready?
No, because there's no approval item till
Okay.
I'm gonna leave with the mayor.
You not ready?
we're ready.
Oh,
You
okay.
don't need an attorney till.
Good morning, everyone,
Good morning.
Morning.
and how you doing this morning?
And
We'll call our LAMTD August 14th meeting to order this time. First item of business is approval of July 10th LAMTD board meeting minutes.
Move rule the minutes.
Second.
Probably motion second, and questions? No questions, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Public comments. Anyone from the public would like to speak at this point, please? Anyone from the public would like to speak at this time? Hearing no, okay. Seeing none, then we move right along to finance. Mr. Broussard? Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, thank you for coming today. Team, excited to have you all here, members of the public. Today, Mr. Prasad and I are giving our normal, for those of you that have been through this before, I call it the Laurel and Hardy show. We're going to go through the proposed LAMTD fiscal year 19-20 budget. So I'm going to go ahead and run the clicker. I'm slightly more tech advanced than David. Commissioners, if you have any questions, please let us know as we go through the presentation, or you can hold your questions until the end. So going over the financial overview for the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District, we have a proposed 19-20 budget of $10.995 million. The budget is balanced. You'll notice, Commissioners, that there are no new programs or routes. Commissioner Lindsay, this is a LAMTD budget proposal. You have two new routes on the county side.
Yeah.
But there's one new position for the road diet program. We are calling the road diet program augmentation of a route rather than a new route, just from a budgetary perspective.
Okay.
Because ultimately it's augmenting the Florida Avenue Route 1. The millage rate is set at our max at 0.5 mils, which will bring in 4.855 million. Ad valorem taxes increased 3.98%. You and the city have heard very similar, the same thing. The CIP budget asset replacement has funding of 0.68 million that allows us to continue to lease finance our buses. For those of you who have been with us a number of years, you may remember after the 2014 My Ride, My Roads ballot initiative, the Lakeland Area Mass Transit Board of Directors recognized that we needed to right-size the organization to set aside approximately 20% of our budget for capital, because we did not have a capital budget for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
I would like to personally, again, thank the board for that leadership. That 0.68 million has allowed us to continue to lease finance buses. We're still too poor to buy buses outright, but the lease financing, David will talk about in the future, and we thank you for that continued leadership. It's also allowed us to do some other things. And in the last 15 years of the district, 6 years have had an operating deficit. Looking at the expense assumptions, you can see that they're built in the salary increases, typically that the board has approved. Again, this is just a placeholder, but typically the board has put in 2.25% every year for the bargaining and non-bargaining unit employees. FICA, the FRS regular class contribution, which is set by the legislature, our health insurance premiums, fuel projections based on the cost, operating expenses, and our capital budget. Please note, board members, that this is the last year of our collective bargaining agreement with the TWU 525. They represent our mechanics as well as our fuel island personnel and our drivers. Our dispatchers are not within the collective bargaining unit. So we will begin bargaining with the TWU 525 in May, trying to bring something forward to you in the July timeframe for ratification by the board, so that the membership can ratify as well, so we can go into the next budget cycle with recommendations for the board. And we will spend time with those new commissioners to talk about our methodology and bargaining with the TWU 525. But I'm happy to say it's a very, very affable relationship. We get along very well with the TWU 525.
That's good.
Fiscal challenges. Obviously, we do not have a diverse source of funding. We are highly dependent on FTA and FDOT grants. The transit asset management is a unfunded mandate that's coming down from the federal government on how we maintain our equipment and rolling stock. I'm happy to say that our organization does a very good job with that, but there are going to be costs associated with doing that, and we're going to meet those challenges head on. Obviously, a lack of capital funding for periodic asset replacement. The Ramco agreement, which is the North Side Mall that is anchored by Dick's, that agreement expires 12/31 of 19. There is no extension. However, board, I'm happy to announce that with Reroute 2020, we will not be seeing a reduction in service because the area that is covered by the Ramco route will be covered by the Blue Line, correct, Mr. Dunn? So we're able to still service that area while not having to increase the budget due to the loss of the Ramco revenues. And I'd like to thank Chuck and the city
Wonderful.
for that fantastic partnership. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hearing that, especially so because that Dick's, what we call that new shopping area, whatever, an expansion of what they're planning on doing and going north. So Blue Line goes as far north as
all the way to the end of the Route 61, which is
Banana. So we will cover all that new stuff, territory that we just assumed.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good.
So we're able to do what Ramco was paying us to do within the Reroute 2020 schema. So no one is going to be losing service. As a matter of fact, we will continue to serve that park and ride facility that's
Right.
So effectively, there's two park and ride lots at
Right.
I-4 and 98.
Right.
The one that we built with the surplus DOT land from I-4 that's called the Galfields Park and Ride
Yes.
lot that's serviced by double-decker buses, megabus.
Megabus, yeah,
And then the traditional park and ride lot on the other side.
right.
And then the ad valorem increase of 3.98%. These are new slides this year, David.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
We have added some new slides this year, basically to show the comparison of revenues in 2019, the current fiscal year, and the proposed fiscal year. And if you looked at the table very closely at the lower percentage of fares, the audit revenues are consistently the same. There's no significant deviation whatsoever, which means that we as trustees struggle to get by year after year. The biggest source of revenues at Valorem, 44%, followed by federal grants, 22%, and FDOT, 16%. And again, if you look at the comparison, no significant change. Transit being a service organization. Next slide.
That's me.
Okay. The narrative here is just to explain the changes in the revenues. Total revenues going up just over 244,000 or 2.2%. The fares is pretty much stagnant, and what we did with the fares is recognize the actual through the end of June and annualize it, consistent with the ridership, and we have been seeing a decline. However, when we get to the ridership table, we'll see some little changes in that. All the other revenues are basically the same. The only other big increases in the other revenues, 153,000 due to some insurance projected increase in reimbursement, sale of surplus equipment, and some other miscellaneous revenue. And then the other increases, we are seeing significant yield in the local government investment pool. And we have another report on that, but except for the property taxes, all the revenues are stagnant. Looking at expenses again, if you compare the proposed 2020 and 2019, you can see very much a similar pattern. Us being a transit and service organization, we are highly labor intensive. That's the reason why I see salaries at 66% of the budget. The other is materials and supplies, which is basically parts and fuel. And again, no significant change from 2019. We have added some bar graph to show the composition of the budget. If you looked at salaries again in the 2020 compared to 2009, the only increase in the 2.25% and the FRS contribution, as well as the increase in the insurance cost. All the other expenses are basically flat.
Yeah.
Again, expenses compared to the revenues are increasing 244,000 or 2.27%. The salaries are the biggest increase, 4% due to the increase in fringe and salaries. And basically, everything else is flat, except for the debt service. And that's because of the new lease we added in 2019. And here's the composition of the expenses. Composition of the revenues, and you can see the biggest source of revenue is the 4.8 million. These are the tables that drive.
Mr. Prasad, we have a question. Commissioner Lindsay?
Can you help me reconcile page 4 to page 9 in the health insurance? Is page 9 insurance, is that liability or is that health insurance on page 9 versus the health insurance is supposed to go down almost 3%, but page 9 shows insurance going up. Are those the same insurances?
Yeah, I think I can explain what's going on there. If you look at the district provides free insurance to all the single employees. The cost for family coverage is almost 100% increase. We have seen significant decrease in the employee coverage for family. And the ratio that we fund the dependent coverage is 70-30, 70% employer and 30% employee. So we have seen a decline in family coverage, I guess, because of the cost. It's almost $20,000 per year for family coverage.
So that results.
That's our cost.
That's the decrease on page 4.
Yeah, that should be it.
And the increase.
The increase on page 9.
Overall, the increase went up 3%, the premium. But as I indicated, all the single employees are covered at the district expense. And that makes sense. Again, the biggest increases in salary.
We're not getting it, and apologize.
Go back to page 9 again, because that's where the challenge is. 4 and 9 comparison again. 4 showing a
So we're spending
decrease.
266,640 on insurance. We're showing an increase.
Oh, this insurance.
That's not
Yes,
help.
page 9.
Sorry, but
That's not help.
Health insurance. No, we're not self-insured for our workers' comp, general liability, property, and all the other insurance. We purchase premium.
are there two different definitions? The insurance on page 4 is not the same insurance on page
Right.
9.
That's correct.
That's
Right.
a change.
9 is broader.
Nine, yes.
Is that correct?
That's our third party insurance coverage.
Right.
Is that, what question again?
What's the insurance on page 9? Is that the liability insurance? Is that the
It's
what?
labeled health insurance on page 4.
Yeah, but on page 9, what's page 9?
Page 9, that's our workers' comp or general liability.
Broader.
Property.
Broader.
That was a question. Is it liability, workers' comp? Because that's not the health insurance.
It is not.
Yes, yes.
There's the answer.
Yeah.
See how happy we are now, David.
You put something in there to make us ask. So
That's good. Nice of them.
Point of clarification.
And these are the narrative things, explain the increases and the major increases in salaries and fringe benefits. There's one position added and, all the other expenses are basically flat. The only increase, other increases in their service for the new bus lease. Here again is the, composition of the revenue for the total budget. Biggest revenues being 4.8 for ad valorem taxes. These are the table as I indicated earlier, and drive the graph, the biggest increase in revenues is 185,000 per ad valorem, and the other revenues, the other revenues are, other those two are declining.
And question, go back, the passenger fares you mentioned earlier, we're seeing a decline, but then you also said it would be explained as to, I guess, why we're seeing or what's the cause effect.
Chairman, later in the presentation, we're going to go over the ridership numbers. As we have explained, I believe it was last month or the month prior, part of what was included in passenger fares last year was the purchase of the actual smart card. So the actual media that was purchased was put into passenger fares. So when you see what our ridership is doing, our ridership has not declined 11.52%. If it were, that would be extremely alarming. However, what we're doing is adjusting our passenger fares to show what our true passenger fares, not smart card purchases. Those were a one-time purchase that we put into fares. So we'll show you what the ridership is, and that will adjust to what our passenger.
And we're putting fiscal year 19 budget for under passenger fares.
We'll correct for that, yes, sir.
Okay.
If that's your question.
Yes.
Got another one. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then how does that compare to page 6 where it says passenger fares are 6% in 19 and 6% in 20? And page 12 says it's 6.2%, and then 5.39%.
Like page 6 or something?
Yeah, page 6, passenger fares,
Make up 6% of the budget.
right,
Yes, sir.
in 19 and in 20. But then in 19 and in 20 on page 12, it is 6.2 and 5.39.
Page 12, sir.
Page 12.
The page we are now.
Page 6 looks like round numbers.
We'll find out the answer to that question. Yes, sir.
When we did the graph, the graph automatically run the number to 6%. That's the reason why.
So if it automatically rounded to 6%, then anything that is over 5 was rounded up. Those
The 5.39, just the question, the 5.39 for fiscal year 20 is right up to 6%, is what you're saying?
We'll run it up in the graph, yes.
They're all the percentages are rounded up if you compare the two.
Well, no, because if you are looking at 19, it's 6.2%. It was rounded down
Down, right.
to 6. So I was just wondering.
Commissioner Hall, what we'll do is the team that, we've got the team right here that prepared the graphs. We'll have them go check while we're getting the budget presentation. Can you all check the inputs that were there, you see how it rounded, which you answered that question.
But you can see it is rounding.
Yeah.
Well, I understand.
Well, it was rounded, yeah.
To Commissioner Hall's point, what's the rounding methodology?
What's the
Yeah, what's the
number?
right methodology, because one's at 6.2 and the
Yeah.
other's at 5.39.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
What it really means is pay attention to page 12 and not 6.
The hard numbers, yeah.
But 12 is hard to numbers.
Right.
One more question.
Yes, sir, I've lost what page we're on.
12.
12,
Well,
12.
and 12.
how, which category is universal access revenue calculated? Is that
UAP is in a contract revenue.
contract revenue?
Yes, sir.
Still a user contribution?
Yes, sir. And the biggest impacts historically that have been the biggest swings in contract revenue were the Geico contract, that were paid not only for the capital and the operating, we benefited from getting the capital. The largest swing, Commissioner Lindsay, you've been here the whole time, the largest swing, as has Chairman Walker and Mr. Hall, was the loss of the Polytech contract, because they paid full load for that service.
Right.
And that was 7-day-a-week service that was able to be there. That was the biggest UAP that we lost.
Okay. Any more questions on page 12 before we move on?
Page 13 shows the percent of local of the budget. And again, we can see that the biggest makeup is salary, wages, and parts of that. Again, for the revenues, the biggest increase composition of the budget is ad valorem, the biggest source, then FT and FDOT grants.
Yes. Ad valorem, this is me, got my name on it. Ad valorem taxes, as you can see, commissioners, you know, after the 2008 crisis, property values continued to increase, but have slowed slightly. So our ad valorem this year is 4.855 million, which just is interesting. It just falls short of covering our salaries and fringe benefits for the entire organization. So again, that tells you how labor intensive our work is and just how important that ad valorem is to the Lakeland area mass transit budget. Here's a better example of the ad valorem and the swings, especially Commissioner Lindsay. I know being in real estate, you lived this as did Commissioner Hall. You can see there were very difficult times in 2011, 12, and 13, even in 14. And in 2014, we had the failure of the My Ride, My Roads referendum. But we also had the economy starting to bounce back, which truly allowed us to right-size the organization, but not have to cut, Mr. Chairman, quite as deeply as we would have if the economy had not started to return. So it's been good times, but it's been moderately good times. So we continue to be able to tread water because we do not have those diverse revenue sources.
Any questions? We'll move on.
Then we have the capital budget, capital expense budget, debt service, and lease payment for buses.
The lease purchase instrument is very common in government. It allows you, especially in transit, to do capital lease purchase at a very low interest rate and spread the cost over the life of the asset. So far, we have been able successfully doing 2 lease capital purchase. The first one, we were able to finance 1.4 million over 12 years. And the second was in 2019, $800,000 over 5 years. It was a very good instrument. The first lease purchase was 1.35 or 1.4 million. We got a very decent interest rate of 2.6%. That debt service is 132,000 over 12 years. Second lease purchase is in 2019, 4 buses, 800,000 principal, with debt service of 172,000 over 5 years at 2.5%. So that allows us to use this 0.6 million capital funding to acquire vehicles and spread the cost over the life of the assets.
Any questions? Mr. Mayor?
It's actually one of the smartest things we've done,
Yeah.
taking the least efficient asset off the road, putting a more efficient. And that,
Well, first off, we'd like to thank the board for the vision to right-size the fleet. That was one of the most important things that we did. The average bus that the Citrus Connection ran was 40 feet in length.
Mhm.
And through your leadership, we've been able to reduce that to 32 or 30 feet. But we're also running, as you know, cutaway vehicles, smaller vehicles on some of our routes where the necessity just isn't there. I can take absolutely no credit and no leadership for the lease financing plan. That's all they and being able to do that, it's something that I believe that we brought from heart. But this was something that we did at heart. So we thank you for your leadership. The next slide talks about how we have spent that 0.68 million. And I like to call this the molest plan and give him a tiny bit of credit, because when we talked about this for years and years and years, board, and doing this and finally doing it, we called it the bus replacement plan, if you remember. It was the fleet, the fleet, the fleet, the fleet. And then after we brought a few small ticket capital items to the board for approval to use capital funds, Commissioner Molest said, well, I really think that the intent at the time with Tom was that we were setting aside the 0.68 million primarily for fleet, but for all of our capital needs. So as you can see how we have spent it, we took gently used Lynx buses, and again, I'm going to brag on my team. These are buses that Joe Cheney, who's I think here today, Joe bought these at Lynx and knew that they were gently used buses and that he had spec'd them out well. So when they came to their useful life, Joe said, we'll take them back. So you authorized these funds to be able to turn them into Citrus Connection buses with a 6.5-year lifespan, Joe?
Yeah.
6.5-year lifespan. We purchased the 2 Geico buses, the debt service. The next fiscal year, we demolished the old fuel island. For those of you that may not know, this was the original fueling site of the Lakeland Area Mass Transit District. We tore that down and we built this office, which now houses human resources, safety, security training in our boardroom, debt service on the vehicles. And then this last year, you authorized the ticket booth at downtown Lakeland. I'd like to thank Chuck Barnaby for allowing us to have that. It's probably the only portable trailer that's ever been allowed in downtown Lakeland or ever will be. And the debt service on the vehicles. So again, we continue to purchase vehicles. We thank the board for that. But we just wanted to reiterate that this 0.68 million, especially with the ledger here, it really isn't just the bus replacement plan, it's the capital replacement plan. So we just wanted to make that clear. Yes.
Because we do not maintain a separate autonomous capital improvement plan, we do not commingle the remaining balance of the 0.6 million. What we do is any leftover money is transferred to the local government investment pool and reinvested. We currently have, and we do show it in the balance sheet as a restricted cash for capital improvement. We do have 1.1 million in that fund drawing interest, and it's more of a capital reserve, capital contingency. So we do not mix the remaining funds from the capital with the operations. And that's a very good plan. We've got an absent CIP fund.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can see the annual appropriation is again the 0.68 million. We've got the prior year's debt service that we have to have, the purchase of a truck and additional buses there. So up to 0.68 million. We have already budgeted for $469,000. So we will continue to purchase buses, Commissioner, and I keep going to Commissioner Lynch, but these are even smaller buses. These are RBOC buses that we will be purchasing. These are the smaller 27-foot, Joe? 26-foot vehicles that will be running. So they look more like a paratransit vehicle than they do a fixed route vehicle. So again, the definition of what a bus is at the Citrus Connection is changing because the fleet composition is changing. The definition of a full bus board is also going to be changing because a full bus is not just every seat taken, it is every seat taken and standing room only. So be prepared that we may get those complaints, but again, standing on a public transit vehicle is a normal thing.
Question.
Yes, sir.
How does it compare with, moving from that size to the smaller size, we're doing that to make sure that we can, I guess, accommodate what we call our district area for passenger transportation's sake. Are we having a challenge with?
Excellent question, Mr. Chairman. So what we do is we still do the trip scoring index that we present to you quarterly from Mr. Canarium. And it will actually be presented by Mr. Dunn next quarter. If you remember, we measure every run of the bus and how many people are getting on and off on a daily basis, and then we assign scores to them. we assign buses, Mr. Chairman, based on that trip scoring index. So Mr. Cheney is always making sure that we have a few 40-foot buses or 35-foot buses, because we know we're always going to need them on the medical corridor, on Route 1, on Cypress Gardens Boulevard, on the county side of the budget. So we are not right. We are not taking our fleet completely smaller, Mr. Chairman. We are right-sizing our fleet based on our route composition. So you can be assured that we will have the right size bus on the right route. Our goal is to not have pass-ups. We do not want to create an artificial sense for the community that the buses are over full. That's the wrong thing to do. We just want to make sure that we're matching the right bus with the right size. Traditionally, Mr. Chairman, the methodology has been to always just buy the same bus.
Right,
And that bus was a 40-foot Gilly.
right.
And it just wasn't right for many of our routes.
Right.
It